Hi, my name is Susan Pavlin, and I'm the Director of Global Growers. So, Global Growers Network is a nonprofit project that is focused on connecting international farmers that are living here in Georgia to agricultural opportunities. And it really, to be honest with you, started by accident. It wasn't a plan at all. I lived in a space in Atlanta where there wasn't any green area. It was in a concrete loft building with more industrial environment. And decided that I would try to find some garden space and felt like it'd be nice to have a partner or have some people to do that with. So it was around that time that I met a guy who was from Burundi. He had come over as a refugee. And he was really, really intrigued with the idea of being able to grow some food. And he came back to me the next, like 3 days later, with a list of 30 names, addresses, phone numbers, and said, okay, here it is, we're ready, let's start our farm. And so on that list of 35 names and addresses and phone numbers, it was all women. And I didn't understand why initially, but it turned out that it was because of that connection for the women in particular and growing food for their families. Over time, one of the women had explained to me too that in their culture, and this is the way that she phrased it, that there were two things that really made women women, like what was the identity of being female. And one of them, which will come as no surprise, is having children. And then having children is part of being a woman. But the second one, which was a surprise for me, was growing food for your family. Part of what happened, and ultimately this is part of why Global Growers grew, but it's a much broader movement than that, has been lots of people from the refugee communities saw these women being successful. Sometimes they saw them interviewed on the news, or they heard about, or they saw them doing something in the community. And people started saying, hey, we can do that too. And in fact, we want to get more involved. People who are coming into the United States in this very strange situation of having to build a new home and really having to start from nothing many times, they're often seen as, and they often experience being, people who need a lot of help. Right? I mean, anybody would in those circumstances need to figure out how to learn a new language, how to get their kids to school, how to drive a car, how to just navigate everything. And a lot of times being a person who needs help in our society puts you in a really vulnerable position. And one of the things that gets overlooked in that mix is that many of these folks are some of the most amazing survivors. I mean, first of all, if you think about the histories of where they came from and what they've overcome to get here, and then also these are people who have great skills and great experiences. And I think farming is one of those things that they almost take for granted, that this is just what I do. It's like breathing or getting dressed in the morning. But in our society, which has lost a lot of, and certainly we're trying to recover it, but has lost a lot of connection to a local food economy, to where our food comes from, to how local food systems work, these people are experts who live and breathe and only know how to function when they can grow their own food, preserve their own food, feed their families. And so I think that, I mean, as a concept, them being people with that level of expertise is of tremendous value to our community and our society. And on a very practical level, what I've seen is, the women have been selling at the farmers markets for the last 3 years. At the farmers market, it is normal for us to sell machicha, which is an amaranth green that the Burundi women grow, to sell bean leaves, which is another way that it's green bean leaves, but they cook it a special way, pumpkin leaves, a whole wealth of products that our culture wouldn't even really have a lot of direct exposure to, and yet they're now normal products at the local farmers market.